I walked through the ancestral lands with the sea calm and the past still striking me from within. I felt that my last experience in the known lands had left something open, like an unease that refused to close. In the distance, I knew the impossible routes began, that brutal stretch where the ocean turns hostile and the ice walls appear, custodial constructions that do more than block passage. They uphold an imposed boundary, guarded by bases and by a system that still filters technology from the shadows. At my side was 2L. She did not need to speak constantly. She did not fill silences. I used to flee from silence. There I learned to remain within it. And when she spoke, she did so as the ancestrals do, directly, without ornament. She told me that the walled lands were not always closed, and that today it is not only the ice that stops the new human, but what they feel before ever reaching that zone. That sentence stopped me. I looked up at the sky by reflex, and in that moment I understood that even that gesture had been learned. I told her that since childhood we all look at the sky as if it were the first admirable thing. 2L barely smiled and released the phrase, "That was not admiration, it was programmed direction." She explained that false skies were not designed merely to conceal what lies above, but to prevent humans from looking around, and above all, inward. When the gaze rises too high, the body remains still. A still body does not walk toward the edges. And then she said without hesitation that the sky teaches insignificance, and insignificance therefore teaches obedience. We spoke of the sun and the moon. She described them to me as regulators. The sun as a charging pulse that emits signals. The moon as something internal, dreams, emotions, even blood and cycles that cannot be measured by clocks. Later she spoke of stress as an ideal state, not as an error, but as design. A tired human does not contemplate, a fragmented mind does not listen to itself. She told me that a calm human is dangerous to the imposed system because they begin to feel without permission, and that the true enemy of the parasitic colonizers is the human who stops sustaining a fixed self-image. Then came that sensation of emptiness so many speak of. "2L told me that emptiness is not absence, that if one stops during that emptiness, memories may arrive, some not even one's own, but residues of another humanity, of another state, prior to the system of the year 1729. That what they tried to erase was not only information, but the possibility of remembering." That was when she released the question that opened the book. What if everyone fulfills a role without knowing it? From that point on, everything arranged itself with unsettling clarity. The sky is a psychological structure that projects. It leads you to deduce yourself as small. And when you perceive yourself as insignificant, you stop claiming territory, you stop demanding coherence, you adapt. The immensity of the universe then appears as anesthesia because it pushes you to look at the unreachable, distances you from what is near, delegates verification to others, and turns you from an explorer into a mere spectator. Along that path, something more concrete also emerged. The possibility of approaching the ice walls through a safe zone in order to observe the first dome from the outside. and that perspective was brutal. From the inside it appears as sky. From the outside it reveals itself as structure, with reinforced zones, stronger projections near the edges. From that side, they no longer need to convince anyone. I understood that humanity was being contained within precise parameters. The real danger was its potential for spiritual growth. Drones appeared on radar, called drone whispers. Custodial technology used by very few, with suspicions even of Pleiadian involvement, and tension surrounding possible massive transfers into the known lands. That left a latent threat hanging in the air. While I was observing the system from the outside, other forces were also in motion. I returned to the Great Library. The records showed that 1729 was not a simple cycle beginning, but the birth of a humanity without reference, the one that exists today. 7-month-old babies extracted from custodial laboratories, a generation without memory to compare. The reset was the event. What followed was deeper. The PFRS, the post-flood resettlement system. It was not about convincing humanity of a lie, but about raising a humanity inside it, as nature itself. The loyal families appear as silent intermediaries. Their task was not to rule visibly, but to normalize, to repeat protocols as if they were tradition, to cut reference, fragment knowledge, and deliver only what was necessary to survive without awakening deep autonomy. Later, a being named Oxy appears within the library, an ancestral who claims to have lived for a long time in the known lands. He tells me that the present is dangerous because it cannot be fully simulated. That when one is truly present, something collapses inside, and what did not exist appears. He leads me to the psychological core. The self as product, the personal image as the most defended cage, and the fear that arises when that image loosens. Dying before dying, losing the image and discovering it, was not everything. In the following chapters, the logic of subtler control unfolds. They do not need to erase memories. It is enough to adjust minimal details to break trust in shared memory, even through abductions carried out by lesser beings. Finally, I reach the fragments of the Anunnaki custodian post-flood resettlement system. A hidden document found in custodial bases and distributed among the loyal families to carry out the human repopulation of the year 1729. A document created not to circulate,